Hello, my friends. Today I am super excited to talk with one of my dear friends and colleagues, Dean Issa DiSciullo from William and Mary Law School. And I'm super excited to share information about her and for you to get to know her better. So, for those of you who are new and don't know me, my name is Dr. Nadia, and I'm one of the associate consultants here with Barrier Breakers. Again, super excited to talk to my dear colleague today. And so let's dive right in. Welcome, Dean Issa DiSciullo with William and Mary Law School. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thanks so much. I'm very excited to be here and honored that you folks thought about me and want to share some of my insight with your students.
Lovely. We're so happy to have you, Dean Issa. Can you tell me a little bit about your background, how you got into law school admissions?
Absolutely. I don't think any of us actually go to college and go, I'm going to be an admissions counsel. But I grew up on a small island in the Pacific. And at the time of my graduation, only about 10% went off to college. Now, I was lucky enough that my parents were educated and my mom was an educator, and she served as my guiding light and support throughout the process. The guidance counselors in my high school were focused on many other things. And if they thought about college, they sent folks to California schools or just Seattle based schools and didn't really think more broadly about what the student's potential really might be. So again, my mom was my inspiration and my guiding principle. And I know that I wouldn't be here today doing what I'm doing had she not pushed me in the direction of the education that I received. And of course, hindsight is 2020. When I was in high school, I'm rolling my eyes, getting mad at my mom. But eventually I ended up in Boston, and that was my springboard to the world and to different populations, as well as different college opportunities. And I realized how lucky I was to have had that guidance. And so now I want to be maybe that guidance or support for other students.
I love that. And that resonated with me as well. My parents instilled how important education, just growing up, it was the thing. And they always want better for us too, right? So they want to show us
Right.
all these opportunities that they didn't have. And I appreciate that support, just like you, my mom and my dad. Exactly. So thank you for sharing. And so, how did you get into law school admissions?
So I actually started my career in undergrad admissions and really loved it. I feel like I learned everything I needed to learn about admissions and undergrad admissions, and I'm grateful for that. But I was given the opportunity to explore law school admissions when a colleague of mine joined Northeastern Law School in a senior leadership position. And she shared with me that one of the things that she appreciated coming over to law school admission was the fact that students are a little bit more focused, a little bit more mature, but also looking to advance their education. I remember a time where bachelor's degrees were just what you needed. That was it, right? And you could advance in your career and you could move forward. And I joined law school admissions at a time when our society was changing and a graduate or a professional or higher advanced degree was really necessary to move ahead in someone's career. And so it was really nice to work with a population of students who were a little bit more thoughtful about what they wanted to accomplish. And for the most part, were accomplishing it because it was their goal and what they wanted to do. On the flip side, I really appreciate the collegiality that law school admissions officers have. Undergrad admissions is fun. I made some really good friends, but I made meaningful relationships with my colleagues in law school admissions. And many of them, like yourself, are ones that I still call friends today and folks that I rely on for insight and thoughts and guidance. And I really like that. I really want to be a counselor first. While I want folks to come to William and Mary, I only want them to come to my school if it's the right place for them. I want folks to make informed decisions, and I want to be part of that community that allows them to get that informed decision making.
I love that. And yes, we do have such a close-knit community of colleagues that they're almost family, right? We spend so much time together.
Yes, yes.
And they're in my bubble. I share that with you too because I lean on them for so many things as well. So thank you for sharing that. So I know that you've seen so many things over your tenure working in law school admissions. What is it that you enjoy the most? What's the best part about working with the students in this industry?
Absolutely. The best part for me is working with and building relationships with the students. I love watching and being a part of their journey as they begin their legal career. And even before that, right, as they're doing their application and search process. But then seeing them 3 years later as they walk through the stage of commencement and they're realizing their dream and just watching them and be so proud of them. And then even years later, I've built many relationships with alums who are now successful in the career, have done many amazing and wonderful things, and just watching them live this dream that for some of them, and I know you've seen this too, have said to us, I wanted to do this since I was 2. And actually seeing it happen and being part of that journey, it's such an honor.
Absolutely. That's the best part, watching them fulfill their dreams and their goals, right? And
Yeah,
3 years happen so fast. It's so crazy. Let's talk a little bit about William and Mary. How
yeah.
does your law school support diverse students or underrepresented students, BIPOC students, well, applicants as well as current law students?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if we talked about this, but William and Mary is America's first law school. And so we have a very rich and storied history. And I think the best way that I can approach this question is by giving some insight about our history and how and when I say we, I talk about the new administration that I'm part of at William and Mary is really thinking about honoring that history, but moving forward in a more positive. So when our current Dean Benjamin Spencer joined the William and Mary community in March 2020, which of course had a lot of other things going on, right? It was like the onset of the pandemic and things along those lines. He also realized that he was joining a community that had a lot of history, and not all of it was particularly good or welcoming for diverse or underrepresented students. So he immediately launched this campaign, which he called Why We Can't Wait. And essentially, it's a 12-part action plan that helps us really focus on real and fundamental change around equity and justice. Again, as the first law school in the country, William and Mary must continue to lead the way towards racial and social justice and be part of that solution. So we're committed to training citizen lawyers who will continue to lead our community, regardless of what it is they choose to do with their career, right? They can go and work in big law, they can do public service, they can work for a government agency, doesn't matter. They know that when they leave William and Mary, they have the power to affect change within the community. And so we want students to continue to have this desire and this special responsibility to affect change. And so since 2020, we've really been able to accomplish some of the items on the Why We Can't Wait campaign. We also know that we can't be satisfied with that and need to work towards progress, whether at the law school or around the world. Now, a component of that campaign is to provide more resources and support for first generation and underrepresented populations. We have enhanced the student services support, that's academic, mental, and emotional support through our Office of Student Services. And we've worked in conjunction with a larger university to utilize some of the resources that they have to make sure that our students feel supported. And that includes earmarked scholarship for first generation and underrepresented students. We've also created pipeline programs. Again, these are programs not necessarily looking to lead students to William and Mary. Would love to have them come to us, but it's really pipeline programs about educating students of their potential and their ability and the fact that they belong in this legal career, this legal profession, if they want to be part of it. So we've really shored up a lot of those pipeline programs. Being in the greater Hampton Roads area, we've got a lot of historically black colleges and universities, and we've created partnerships with them, served as resources to support their pre-law advisors and pre-law programs. even as early as the first and second years of their students. So that's something that we've been really proud of. We've created our first generation student association. There are over 60 active members in that student organization. And then we have first gen faculty members who serve as their advisors and give, again, experiences, support, let students know that they're not alone and that they do belong in this industry. Again, there's still a lot to do. There's still a lot of items on the Why We Can't Wait campaign. Our programs are not perfect. We continue to evaluate them, but our community continues to strive for excellence and belonging. And again, we want to ensure that William and Mary, we are leading being part of the solution towards racial and social justice equity.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's so important to spotlight that information about William and Mary, especially with our students, what they're going through today, just knowing the
Yeah,
services and support that your law school can offer to them. And when they're picking a law school, we want them to be comfortable, right? We want them to be
right.
confident and comfortable in their decision. And I think as they are shopping and looking at schools, it's really good to know the culture of the school and how they will be successful at that particular law school. So thank you so much for sharing that
Yeah.
with us. So, what advice would you give to our students or our applicants that are looking to apply in the near future?
Biggest advice that I would give them is you are not alone. There's so many resources out there for you, and they just continue to grow. Do not hesitate to use them. I think in the past, there was this misconception that asking for help is a sign of weakness, but actually, it's a sign of strength and confidence and good judgment, right? I would just want to encourage folks who are applying to law school, even just thinking about whether or not this is a path for them, to look at the resources out there from their pre-law advisors at their respective institutions to organizations like Barrier Breakers to lsac.org and admissions counselors like myself. There is a plethora of information and resources and people who want to help you. So do not go this alone, right? We're here to help. We want to help. And so reach out and make sure that you're taking advantage of these resources so that you put together the strongest application possible and put your best foot forward as you're applying to law school.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think even for some of us, we learn that late in age that it is
Right?
okay to ask questions. And you're right. If you don't ask, you don't know. So it's okay to go look for the people who can help you. There's so many
Right.
of us out there. So again, going back to your experience, and I'm sure you've seen so many things. What are some tips or pointers or any type of advice that you can give to our applicants this cycle?
So I think one is what I just said, use the resources, ask for help, don't go it alone. The second is I think that students underestimate the other components of the application. I think they rely heavily on standardized tests like the LSAT, their GPA, and their curriculum. Now, don't get me wrong, academic preparedness, very important for the admissions process in law school admission. So I'm not saying that that shouldn't be an important aspect of the application or the preparation towards the application. But I think students should understand that we actually do a very well-rounded review of the application. Because while we do want to make sure that you're academically ready for the rigors of law school, we also want to make sure, and we're very deliberate about who we bring into our community, right? And so we're looking for someone who is willing to share what their passions are, what their interests are, what they want to advance because that's what's going to happen when they come to the law school, right? They're going to add to the exciting and engaging conversation in the classroom. They're going to take our student organization and run events with it and become leaders in it. And then they're going to become active alumni. And so we want to make sure that those passions are highlighted and that they have the ability and the opportunity to continue to explore that. And more importantly, that it aligns with our own vision, mission, and values at William and Mary so that they can help us advance those values as well. So I think they underestimate the power that a really well thought out and well put together resume can do for their application, the power that a good letter of recommendation can do for their application, and maybe even their scholarship amount road. For many of us, there isn't a separate application for scholarship. We use their admission application. And so while it might have been good enough to get in, is it good enough to get you that best scholarship package that you deserve? I know a lot of folks put a lot of effort into their personal statement, so I know that they value that, but they don't really think about, like I said, the letters of recommendation or the resume in the same light. And I really think if they look at all of those components of the application in a way that is valued, they really are going to put their best foot forward.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, on the flip side of that, what are some of the common mistakes that you've seen on applications?
I think the common mistake that I've seen, well, there are two. One is a rushed application. I think applicants get really nervous when we say, oh, you have to apply early, you have to apply early. And so I think that they really focus on applying early and setting sort of internal deadlines for themselves. And then when they do that, sometimes they focus so much on when they want to hit submit on that application that they don't focus on the quality of the materials that they're submitting. So while I don't think students should apply super late in the cycle either, I think that students should really take a look at the quality of their application, and they shouldn't sacrifice a good application just to submit it maybe a couple of days, a couple of weeks early. And I think they really need to think about, again, the value that the pieces of information in their application are going to add. And is it at the fullest potential in terms of that value before they hit submit? Again, I'm not saying wait till like, April, May, all that stuff to apply, but within reason, you want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward. So don't sacrifice the quality of your application just because you're trying to hit what you think is an early deadline. Check with the different schools, see, what early really means for them, or see what late really means for them, so that you have an understanding of when you can really submit that application. So I see that when they rush through that process quite a bit. And again, very focused on got to submit early, got to submit early, got to submit early. And then maybe they don't get that personal statement read by another person, or they don't proofread it, or they sacrifice, like, well, I couldn't get this letter from this really good professor because he was just sort of waiting too long for it. And they submit just a lukewarm letter. I'd rather you submit it a little later and I get this really great letter from an academic professor than a lukewarm letter from somebody in the community. So I think that the students sometimes focus on that, getting it in early, rather than focusing on, is my application in the best possible form to submit? And then I'll submit. So that's really the other thing I see is folks who don't put enough time to prepare for the LSAT or the standardized tests, right? Many schools are now taking GREs. William and Mary doesn't, but there are a lot of schools that do take it. And so taking the time to really study for that standardized exam, both the LSAT and the GRE are not knowledge-based exams, right? So you can't cram for it because you can't memorize anything. It's a skills-based exam. And so how do we hone our skills? By taking the time to do it over and over and over again. So it becomes muscle memory and it becomes ingrained in the way that we do things. And so you have to allow your mind, your brain, which is a muscle, the opportunity to be able to do this over and over and over again to get that muscle memory, rather than just sort of running it and be like, all right, I think I'm prepared, or I'll just do a couple of weeks and I'll cram. Like, you can't, not for the LSAT anyway. So that's the other pitfall sometimes that I see.
Yeah, so I hope they took note. We need to practice and prep. Practice and prep and take your time, right? When you submit, you want to be confident that you submitted your best work to the law schools. So I love this next question. What would you say that students should ask more of during the application process?
I love that question as well. And my answer generally, like at first, confuses the students. But then as we talk about, it, they're like, oh, that makes sense. So the question that I wish they would ask more of is more a question to themselves than to me. I wish they would ask, or they would approach the application process with this question: what do I want the admissions committee to know about me? Rather than coming to me and being like, what do you want to see in my application? What do you want to see in my personal statement? No, this is your application and this is your word in the application process. I want to see what you want to tell me. Whatever your true, unique, and authentic story is, that's what I want to see. So as students are getting ready to write their application, put the components of it all together, I wish they would just take a step back and be like, what do I want to tell the admissions committee about me? This is my application, so I'm going to take control. And I'm going to let them know that by hook or by crook, when they're done reading this application, they will know this about me, right? And all the pieces will have pointed to that, and there would be no gaps in the application. So I wish that they would just ask that question more. And again, it's not a question to me, it's really a question to them. But I think that that will really help them guide their application. And I think some of the questions that might seem a little nebulous will be less nebulous when they frame it that way, because I'm sure there are certain things that they want us to know about them, whether it's about their academic ability, about the soft skills that they've built up through their entire life, about some challenge that they've overcome and they're so proud of it, right? Or about an accomplishment that they've done that they're so proud of. Like there's things that they want us to know, that they want to share. So share it. I don't know you yet, so I don't know what that is. I don't know what I don't know, but you do. So tell me. Tell me what that is and take control of your application. This is your word. So tell me what you want me to know rather than have me sort of guess what I think are the fun and exciting and inspiring things about you. So that's what I wish they would sort of start with more in terms of that line of questioning.
I love that, right? Because I would tell my students, don't tell me about the law school. I work for the law school. I know all things about the law school.
I think we're great.
Right. I want to know more about you. So to start with the personal and your application, the personal pieces gives you the opportunity to add color to the application, and that's the part of it that we love, right? The part that we love the most. As we come to a close, is there anything that, about William and Mary or about the process or your experience that you want to share with our listeners and our students that are gearing up and in the midst of the application process right now? Any words of wisdom or advice that you want to share with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll break it up into two. One about William and Mary, because I really do think it's a truly special place. As you know, I've lived all over the Northeast in like big cities. And so I know a lot of folks were a little worried when I made the announcement that I was moving to a small town in Virginia, in Williamsburg, Virginia. But William and Mary, and Williamsburg in particular, it's such a special place that I just want students to know about it and to think about it. And again, it's not for everyone. So it's not the right place for you. I'm still here to help you. I'm still happy to be a resource. But I do want you to know that there are some special things about William and Mary. And that is the fact that, again, we were America's first law school. And so we had to be committed to this concept of excellence. We had to do the things we were doing well, right? And that commitment to excellence continues even to this day. So our students come who are very committed to excellence. They strive to be the best that they want to be. They want to, and they tend to, just by nature of who goes to law school, tend to be competitive and whatnot. But I will say that our students have found a way to do this in a non-adversarial fashion. They did not have to sacrifice one over the other. They continue to be committed to excellence, but they do so in a collegial and collaborative fashion. And I think that it's the nature of who we are in Williamsburg, right? We're a small town. As a result, we have to be connected to each other. We use each other as our family, as our community, and we give back to the residents of Greater Williamsburg. So that really brings that sort of feeling of camaraderie. So it's a place where students can really be present present in their legal education, but also present within the passions that they come with and can serve the community. The second thing that I would say in terms of words of wisdom is just remember that you are awesome. Like you already did a lot of things to get to this point, a lot of wonderful things to get to this point where you're able to apply to law school. So you are awesome. You deserve to be here. You belong here and you can do it because you've already done a ton of hard things to get here. So just take a moment. I know sometimes the application process can be daunting. Just take a few minutes to step back and revel in all the wonderful things that you've already done and know that you've done those things to get here. So you know what? You can continue to do hard things to get to the next step because you have the foundation, you are amazing, and you belong. So just remember that. Like you've already done stuff to get here and you can do it again to complete that goal of law school.
Absolutely. I love that. A great way to end our interview today. So, again, I just wanted to thank you so much for joining me today.
Al, it was such an honor. Thank you for thinking of me. I'm always happy to work with students and applicants. So, for all of those of you that are listening, even if William and Mary isn't in your radar, know that I am here as a resource. So, please, please, please use us.
And we hope that you love this video as well, that you have some takeaways from it. Like we always say at Barrier Breakers, we are here for you. We're here to support you through your journey. So if you like this video, please share, subscribe, and visit us on all our social media platforms. Thank you again for watching today.